Vroom, vroom. The other day I felt a warmth between myself and Mole and Ratty, the two little characters from Wind in the Willows, as I sat on the banks of the River Ouse and let it drift by. Vroom, vroom. Today I feel more like Toad of Toad Hall, the animal that was always getting himself into trouble because of his excesses. Vroom.
But horsepower is the essence of this episode, because horses played a central part in the history of Lewes. And as might be expected, were often at the centre of violence,
Adding to the history of a bloody town.
Horses, of course, were nothing unique to Britain. Cavalry had been a major part of warfare, and peaceful farming from time to time immemorial. But for Lewes in early times, they were an important part of its economy. The Domesday Book, the first ever audit of England in 1086, records that anyone selling a horse in Lewes should pay to the reeve or estate manager a penny. The buyer also paid a penny. So a horse tax was in place more than 1,000 years ago. And so the horse took centre stage from the earliest of Norman times. I've shown you the tilting grounds where knights on horseback tried to unseat each other. But that was nothing compared to the violence that Lewes races brought to the town.
But I get ahead of myself. Lewes was one of the most famous racecourses in history until 1965.
The fourth oldest in the country, racing began in 1727, although some argue there is evidence it was 26 years before that.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Lewes. It's the final race meeting here at Lewes, Monday, September the 14th, 1964. The ground is firm and the wind is straight across the course. The runners for the first race, the Cuckmere Apprentices Handicap, are on their way to the start. Saucy Lad representing Tom Masson in the purple with the gold star. Number 11 is Nimberg. And away they go. They're off and racing, and Buzz made a bright start there and leads in the early stages. And now a little bit of a rise as they race past the mile marker and head towards the right-hand turn, which will bring them into the home straight. Closing stages with less than 100 yards left to travel. It's Buzz pulling clear, and Buzz goes on to win by about 3 lengths to Misty River in second, Saucy Lad back in third, Great Lady, Nimberg Wave, Methane, the Wolf, and St. Kieran.
In that year, after almost 300 years of horse racing, it closed down for good, mainly because it had no electricity, no running water, in fact, no facilities at all. Yet in the late 18th century, it attracted royalty, the big gamblers of the day, and it produced some champion racehorses over the years that brought great races and great feats to an otherwise pretty but blustery track atop the Downs. Considered by racing folk as the greatest racehorse of all time, Eclipse raced there in 1769. The Derby winner of 1793, Waxy, was a Lewes-trained horse, as was Charlottetown in 1966. Great jockeys rode there, such as Lester Piggott and Gordon Richards.
And Barry, you've, although it started in 1720 or so, you weren't here then, but you were, as a very young boy, involved in this racecourse.
Yeah, I certainly was, yeah. I'd say I was born on race day, 29th of August 1950. My mum's side of the family were all racing people, going back hundreds of years probably, so, you know, my gran used to take us up here.
It's very quiet and serene today, so what was it like on race days up here?
Very, very noisy. Hustle and the bustle of coaches coming up here, cars. I mean, all these places over here were car parks. You had all the horse boxes, The tote men, tic-tac men shouting the odds and everything else. Lots of entertainment going on, you know, and it was very, very busy. A 4-mile race. We started right down the bottom of the hill there. The horses used to run right down there as far as you can see, and come back down here to the winning post.
Right.
They used to have 2 winning posts. They used to have a 5 furlong winning post and a 6 furlong winning post. But what they made the 6 furlong winning post another furlong away from the stands, because they both wanted to start them on the straight. Otherwise it was unfair, so they had a straight run.
Right.
In 1914, I think it was 14, they shut that down because they found it was too dangerous. And not only that, for the horses to get up that hill. They used to start them from here, they run them down there, round the loop and back again. And that made 4 miles, but it had to be like the best out of 3 or something.
Right.
So some of them horses run 12 miles
Jeez.
just to win a race. They had 10 minutes break. They got back after about 9 or 10 minutes. They'd have a bucket of water, drink and wash down, and back they used to go again. After a while, it just phased out a little bit. It used to be a 3-day meeting in August, and then it got to that it was just going to be a day a year. And it got to the stage where it was just one race, and all the horses in that race were trained in Lewes. And the guy that wrote about it, you know, he said this is probably going to be the last day.
There are many in Lewes who are still resentful that the course was closed. It brought a good deal of cash to the town. Lewes had many racing stables, and a thriving racing community numbered as many as 60 establishments.
But perversely, it was responsible for cleaning up the sport, despite suffering a bout of violence.
The early part of the 20th century saw the rise of vicious gangs around the country. These gangs often fought each other, but to keep cash in their pockets, they targeted racecourses. They would secretly ease their way into courses and then meet up to viciously attack and rob bookies. Racegoers, and even jockeys. They were feared at race meetings throughout Britain. And so it was on a June afternoon in 1936. London villain James Spinks and his gang turned up at Lewes for an attack on bookies. They gathered, some 30 strong, on the edge of the racecourse, ready to pounce. And pounce they did. They attacked and savagely beat a bookie and managed to rob him.
But not known to them, 2 CID officers had been posted in the grounds.
The 2 detectives alerted their fellow coppers and raced towards the gang. According to some reports, a rival gang got into the act and all hell broke loose. It must have been some sight. Villains scattering in all directions. Keystone cops were in full chase, and the excited racegoers panicked and dived for cover. But it was the police on this day at Lewes Racecourse who passed the winning post. They managed to nick 16 of the gang, took them to Lewes, where they were sentenced to long prison terms. That put an end to the decades-old practice of course hijacking by these fearless and vicious gangs.
A real feather in the cap of the Lewes coppers, nabbed.
Pulling you aside, locals will whisper in your ear that Graham Greene's Brighton Rock was really about Lewes Racecourse. They say the gang fight in his novel was based on the events of Lewes in 1936. To think that Pinky strode this course, what a ghost to have here now. Cashpoint fraud. It's moving south, so watch your cash carefully. It's a dog's life. If you own one, microchip it. It's now the law. And Lewes Prison, often home to the rich and famous.
A newspaper, please, Dawn.
Certainly, Keith. There we go.
Thank you very much. There you go. Hi, Seb.
Hello.
A pint, please.
No worries. Thank you.
Coffee, please, Kath.
Good morning. There you go, sir.
Thank you very much.
I'm very sorry we don't take card.
It's hard to think now what you can't buy with a credit or debit card. But there are still nice little cafes, like this one, where cash is still king. Or, believe it or not, money is still needed to buy a bus ticket. And then, of course, they're still repaying the tenner you borrowed off a pal and forgot to give back.
Hi, David.
Thanks, David.
How are you? Yeah. Here's that tenner I owe you.
That's very
Oh,
good.
sorry about that. Hi, I'm Keith Hayes with the latest edition of Catch 'em, the crime show that deals with the bad people in Lewes.
It's possible to buy almost anything with a card nowadays, but we do need cash from time to time. And anyway, it's a comfortable feeling to have a fiver or two in your pocket. How do we get it? From cash machines, of course. And the villains know it. There has been a spate of tampering with cash machines in the north of England, and Sussex police are warning the public down here that it's spreading south. Police forces across the country have reported that a number of cash machines have been tampered with or modified so that criminals can get customers' bank details. Thieves tampered with ATMs in the north of England this week, and local police said it is advising the public to be vigilant and report anything suspicious. If it looks as if the machine has been tampered with, call the bank immediately and then call police on 101.
Better safe than sorry.
We're a nation of pet lovers. One man and his dog has been the mantra of the English for an age and a half. But as of this April, dog owners have a new legal responsibility other than walkies, dinner time and cuddles. All dogs throughout the UK must be microchipped. Owners who fail to comply face a fine of £500. Authorities estimate that there are still more than 1 million animals that haven't had a chip inserted, but the law applies to every dog and every owner.
It's now the law.
The chip is about the size of a grain of rice. It's inserted in the loose skin on the back of the neck. The chip contains a code which tells vets or dog catchers who the owners are and where they can be contacted. The scheme is designed to help reunite stray dogs with their families, identify reckless owners, and save local councils thousands of pounds looking after strays. So keep the lead, but get the microchip. It's now the law. Hello, darling. I'll be late home for dinner. How very thoughtful of me to let the good lady know. But if you do it while driving your car on your handheld mobile, it will be an expensive meal. If the police catch you, you'll get 3 penalty points on your licence, £100 fine. And if you have been particularly dangerous while driving, the fine could rise to £1,000 and being disqualified from driving. It's dangerous and has cost lives. But on the outskirts of Lewes, the town's jail looks formidable. It was built in 1853, and over the years has played host to a number of famous names from the world of crime. The Russian prisoners from the Crimea War, who were held in the old naval prison, have become famous over time. There's a monument in St. John sub Castro churchyard to those inmates who died while in captivity. It's paid for by Russia. A play has been written about them, and only recently the Russian ambassador paid a visit to the site. Less well known is that 300 Finnish grenadiers, fighting for the Russians, were incarcerated in Lewes jail, not the naval prison. They were the new prison's first inmates. Several leaders of the Irish Easter Uprising in Dublin of 1916 were held there. They included Eamon de Valera, later the Republic's first president and prime minister. Probably the most famous murderer in the prison was John George Haigh. He was known as the acid bath murderer. That's the way he tried to dispose of his victims. He appeared at Lewes Assize Court in July 1949 and was found guilty in just 17 minutes. He was hanged by the then famous Albert Pierrepoint in August 1949. A notorious local murder in 1912 saw John Williams hanged in Lewes prison. Williams shot a police inspector in Eastbourne, for which he paid the ultimate price. The notorious Kray twins, Ronnie and Reggie, were imprisoned in Lewes jail in the 60s. The colourful, so-called celebrity gangsters managed to keep business going as usual while behind bars, hiring out protection teams to Hollywood stars. Frank Sinatra hired 17 of them from the Krays. No prison worth its salt can exist without at least one ghost, and Lewes is no different. Local gossip has it that one of the corridors is haunted by a man in Victorian-style prison garb. He is said to have dropped dead of a seizure when he saw his son enter the same block as a fellow prisoner. So keep your eyes peeled as you pass the prison on the way out of Lewes on the road to Brighton. You never know what you might see. And that's Catch 'em for this week. See you next week for more news about crime around the district. Right, okay, now you're going to hear my voice because we have two gorgeous ladies here who will hijacked as they came in taking a look around the hotel, but they are fascinating people. One lady is from New Zealand and the other from London. Now, what's your name?
Marianne.
Marianne and
Viola. I'm Viola.
Viola. Marianne and Viola. Well, welcome to Mirador Television. This is a very free-flowing type of television, and we are always very interested in people that come into the hotel. You're staying here at the White Hart?
Yes, we are.
And what are you doing here?
We are on a pre-Christmas short break.
Aha. Now, is this short break where they just include Lewis, or did you choose Lewis?
We chose Lewis only because neither of us have been here before.
Right.
And it's not too far from London.
No, it's not. On days when the trains are running, it's not.
Okay, well, we drove, and fortunately the main roads were clear of snow.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, it's good to see you here. When did you arrive?
We arrived here at midday yesterday. Our room wasn't ready, so we went for a walk and had something to eat, and you can tell them what we did.
Went over the road to had lunch.
Now, when you say over the road, which over the road?
Over this
Cafe
road, just on the Italian on the corner.
Oh, right.
Just
And
there.
the
Had
Ask, yes.
had a little lunch. Then we cruised around the shops down the hill and back up this side. We didn't go far, but what is very nice about here is that they're little independent shops with very friendly shopkeepers.
Yes.
And no crowds and interesting stuff. So I came away with a little goodie bag of purchases, small purchases. And my friends nodded and said,
Now, the reason I asked you which over the road is because just up the road from the Ask restaurant is a pub called the Rights of Man.
We saw that. It's
Oh,
opposite
okay.
Coach. We
And
dined there
do you
last
know
night.
why it's called the Rights of Man?
No.
something to do with Thomas Paine.
Indeed. Well done. Because you are actually sitting in the room one of the rooms where he developed his thoughts on the rights of man.
Oh, wonderful.
Tom Paine lived in Lewis for about 9 years
Hmm.
and was a customs officer. If you go down the road, you'll see a thing called Bull House. That's where he lived. St. Thomas's Church, right across from that, was where he was married. And over the road there, which is no longer a hotel, was the Crown Hotel. And he used to go in there and buttonhole anybody at the bar to talk about the rights of man.
Oh,
And
gosh.
the landlord said, "They've stopped coming here, Tom, because you keep on saying you're barred."
So what? No,
And
we didn't have any rights of women at the time. did we?
Well, strangely enough, the Battle of Lewis, and if you get a chance to go down and see the what's left of the Priory,
Yeah, it's 13th century, yeah.
yes, the Battle of Lewis was 1264. But the Battle of Lewis, the part of the agreement gave the right of widows to retain the assets of their husband, whereas before they had to give it off to the family. So the rights of women also started here.
Well done.
There you go.
And that was in 1266.
1264.
12th, 13th
Well,
century. That is
wow.
amazing.
It-
This is a very good
I didn't
reason.
know that.
Lewis has got a wonderful claim to fame with this
Well,
very wonderful.
It's
fact.
when you've got a little moment and you're playing around with your computer, see if you can find a documentary in 8 parts called "The Bloody Past of a Tiny Town," and we made it about 5 years ago. And the reason it's called The Bloody Past is this high street has seen more blood spilled historically than any other town in the United Kingdom. And we tried to, yes, is across the road. Queen Mary had 17 martyrs burned at the stake. Some of them were held in the wine cellar here before they were marched out and burned. There's the Battle of Lewis. There's Tom Paine didn't actually spill blood, but nonetheless he went off and fomented a revolution. So yes, we've had our share.
and we've got a lot of interesting history here.
But haven't you got a connection with Guy Fawkes? Isn't that?
Indeed.
Yes.
The connection with Guy Fawkes is to do with the martyrs.
Oh,
And the reason that we celebrate it here rather more than anywhere else is because Queen Mary, some 50 years ahead of Guy Fawkes, burned these 17 people at the stake in tar barrels, actually, which is a very nasty way to die. And when she died, they started to celebrate. So when Guy Fawkes, who actually worked as a steward for one of the families not very far from here, for the Nevilles, and the Nevilles or the Sackvilles, one of the two.
Neville's.
Nevilles. Then we upped our game, as it were, and now it's become quite vast.
so there's a strong anti-Catholic sentiment in these parts.
Well,
Well,
it's
not so much
historically,
anymore, but
Not
yeah,
now these
historically, yeah.
days,
I mean,
historically.
some people try to say that it's an anti-Catholic thing, but a very nice man who owned a pub down in where you saw those nice little shops called the Gardener's Arms, is each year he enthusiastically put up a banner which says "No Popery here," and he was a Roman Catholic.
Oh.
And a lovely man he was too. He was always immaculately dressed. And I'm sorry if I'm sort of waxing a bit lyrical, but he and two other publicans, when they retired, used to go around each pub to see their old mates and so on, and they were known as Freeman, Hardy and Willis, which was a chain store at the time. But anyway, we're talking about, let's talk about you. What do you do in New Zealand?
I left New Zealand 42 years ago, and I live in London. When I retired, I became very involved with an organisation called the New Zealand Women's Association, and that is a bunch of New Zealand, mostly born in New Zealand but living here, some English friends as well. And in October 2019, I became the president of this group. And then obviously in March 2020, we had the pandemic and all of our activities were cancelled. The secretary went to New Zealand, got trapped there. The treasurer's husband took ill and she was out of action as well. We couldn't do anything. We discovered Zoom. We had events on Zoom, which I organised, including 90th anniversary a show really, because we were formed in 1930. We had a message from the New Zealand Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, who had worked in London with the Labour government or Tony Blair's office. And anyway, that was a big excitement. And but our real problem is that we were holding lunches regularly at New Zealand House, which is in the Haymarket. It's a Grade 1 listed building, very ugly, but it is dates back from the 1960s and it's now in need of complete refurbishment. So New Zealand House from this summer has closed for several years for a complete makeover internally, I'm not sure about externally, but anyway, our group had been holding lunches with the secretary, the president and the committee cooked the food, entertained the members, 2 lunches several times a year for over 40 years. During the pandemic, we couldn't do that. Now New Zealand House is closed, so we can't do it anyway. So it's been my job to sort of think, oh dear, what are we going to do now that we can't do our major activity? And everyone has got older, so it's a bit of a challenge. That has been my job.
Right. And what are you going to do?
Well, what I have done is introduce small groups, so we can just meet for free, and we have coffee groups. We've got one north of the Thames and one south of the Thames. We've got a walking group. They just walk the Capital Ring Walk, which is in 15 stages within 10 miles of Big Ben. A group of them got together and walked that whole circle. We've had 3 lunches. We used to have several. We had 3 lunches this past year with a speaker. We've just had the Christmas lunch, and we now have to research nice venues. all of the venues that are nice in central London, including pubs, are extremely expensive. So whereas once we'd have a Christmas lunch and people pay £25 with free wine and 2-course lunch and blah blah blah, now we have to charge £65. And so of course they're so it's very difficult for us at the moment. But anyway, all the members want to continue. They think I can practically walk on water. And so
I can tell by your lovely eyes you can.
Anyway, it has been a considerable challenge, and as we speak, we've got a committee with some new people on it, and all my members are very keen to see what's coming next.
Well, you zip around, obviously.
Oh, I don't know about zipping around, but it's been an interesting journey into exploring London venues. We had a 90th anniversary lunch, which was delayed from 2020 just this year, on HQS Wellington, which is a ship that saw active service in the Pacific during the Second World War and is now berthed on the embankment, and is the home of the livery, the associate, what are they? The Master Mariners livery company.
Yeah.
That's their headquarters. And the husband of one of my committee is a Master Mariner, so he sorted it out for us to go there. So we had drinks on the quarterdeck.
Splendid.
Then we had what was the engine room is now the dining room, so we had lunch down there. Our High Commissioner came and gave a very interesting talk about our connection with New Zealand's connection with Britain and the meat, the shipments of frozen meat and all that kind of stuff. And it was very, very interesting actually, and the effects of Brexit on New Zealand and free trade deals, etc., etc. That was all very entertaining, and we got a very, very good attendance at that event. So that was an interesting, unique venue.
Absolutely.
So now we're sort of going, oh, this is nice, but you know, London venues, and they all want to make money to recover from the pandemic. Now we've got the, whatever it is, the sort of hard times that we're in. Challenging.
Yes. Well, I'm going to ask you to stay in touch with us and let us know events, because we'll happily tell people how you're getting along.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
I mean, I'm not sure that it will have a great impact, but nonetheless, it will be very interesting for people to know, because these are the sort of things that nobody ever knows about, except your people. And you know, down here, we wouldn't have a clue about that.
No, of course not. It's very difficult for us because 40% of the membership do live in London, but the rest live scattered around sort of mostly southern England. But we just had a day trip to Winchester because there were quite a bunch of people living in Hampshire.
Right.
So we had lunch at someone's house. Then we had a tour of Winchester College, which is the country's oldest independent school, still on the same site.
My headmaster went to Winchester.
Oh, really? Well, our secretary has been a teacher there, and there's the lovely treasury that they have. So she did a tour of the treasury, and they had a lovely day. So that's the sort of thing that we do.
Well, do keep us informed. We like to think that we are international. We have two ladies, one on a Monday and one on a Friday from New York, who come and join us for half an hour and a chat and keep us up to date with what they're doing and so on and so forth. So you can be one of our team and let us know what's happening with your organisation from time to time. Yes. Now I see you looking at your watch, and I know that you want to go out and see. So just very quickly, are you you're associated with this organisation?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
I met Marianne through mutual friends and playing bridge some years ago, and we've enjoyed each other's company since then. Had a few holidays together.
So you're bridge players?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mediocre, I might.
Speak for yourself.
Well, the one thing I remember about bridge, I don't play it anymore, is that nobody likes losing.
Exactly. And as not being a strong player, people who play with me must expect not to do well.
And what do you do apart from playing bridge?
Well, I'm well retired now. I I can't top what Marianne's been telling you. Grew up in London, got married quite young, 2 children, widowed when I was in my early 20s, never remarried, unfortunately. And yeah, I've got a lovely daughter with 2 children who lives in London, and I've got a lovely son with 2 children who lives in Israel. His eldest son married an American girl. He now lives in New York, and I potter about passing my time,
Right. And what do you pass your time on apart from bridge?
meeting friends, going to the cinema, eating. Not, you know, nothing that's worthy of time on your lovely program.
Everything is worth on our lovely program. Is people are interested in people, believe it or
Yes.
not. And much of the programs on mainstream television, they don't talk about what average people do. So do you have a favourite dining place in London?
Dining. Oh, dying. A favourite. I like Coat, actually. It's you know, when I go out with a girlfriend, it's not expensive. It's good quality food. In fact, we dined here in Lewes last night in your Coat,
In Coat,
which is up the
right,
road.
yeah.
Yes.
How did you find it?
Lovely. And sadly not very busy, but it was a Monday evening.
Yeah, I mean it is quite busy, quite a lot of
Yes,
time.
yes,
It's quite popular.
yes.
It's one of the only decent dining places in the
Because
town.
Marianne suggested we went there tonight as well. I said, oh, well, let's try somewhere else. But what you're saying is there's nowhere else to try.
We are very good at pubs that have very good food, but in terms of decent restaurants, it really is.
And do the
outstanding.
pubs do evening food?
Yes, they do.
Oh, well, perhaps we'll consider that. What
I-
about this
I would
Rights of
recommend-
Man?
The Rights of
Yeah.
Man is
Rights of Man?
we turned it into the Works Canteen.
Oh, okay.
So we rather like it, yeah.
Oh, right.
And it's
But
got a
they
very
do
interesting
have
dining
food
room at the back.
in
Yeah.
the evening.
Very good
Yes,
food, yeah.
yes.
Because we're going to potter around today and look at Lewes and then dine somewhere locally.
Well, I hope you enjoy.
Did you say this was your first time here?
I don't.
I've not been here before.
I may have passed through here 30 years ago, but I
Well-
don't remember it at all.
One last question just before you go. What are your being here for the first time, what are your first impressions of Lewes?
Charming small town.
I think it's delightful. I loved all your little shops. I've seen things in half an hour in different shops that I haven't seen where I live
Yes.
at all. I don't know where their stuff comes from, but they were quite unique.
Well, we've managed to keep out most of the chains.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have. You have.
Yeah.
We did. People in the shops say, you know, your busy time is in the summer. More tourists. It's not a common time of year for visitors like us to sort of come down here. But it's just a break for us. I don't care what I do. It's just so
to get
glad to
away
be
from
away
the norm.
from all the stuff I was telling you about before.
Yes. Well, let me leave you with a little naughty bit,
Oh,
because
right, then.
Lewes was a very important port until
Was
the
it one of
advent
the
of the
Cinque
railways. No, it wasn't one of the Cinque Ports because we're not on the coast.
Oh, okay, of course not.
But it was right down on the river here. Where it was an important part of the port. But if you actually walk down to the very end, you come to something called South Street, which is known as the Chelsea of Lewes. Lots of nice little houses. But when the sailors were here, 15 of them were brothels.
Oh, lovely.
So we have a bit of a history.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming in and agreeing to chat to us. You've been very, very interesting, and I hope that we'll maintain the we're Mirador Television. If you've got a card, leave it with me because we will contact you.
Where would we watch?
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. Mirador Television. Mirador, the entrance to the castle. I don't know whether you've been to the castle.
No, that's what
Right.
our next step is once
Well,
we've
the-
warmed up.
A very well preserved Barbican, sort of a gateway to the castle, and everybody names their companies and businesses after Barbican this, Barbican that, and we didn't want to do that because we didn't want to get lost in the crowd. But Mirador is a small Barbican, or a small turret. So if you remember that, Mirador is a small turret, and it's Mirador Television, and you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn,
Twitter.
and in fact Twitter.
Twitter as well.
Yeah, you'll
Mainly
old
YouTube.
yeah. So you will find this program later today or I mean, it's actually going there right at this very moment, but it takes time sometimes to show up, doesn't it? Yeah.
I've got YouTube on my television, so I will do that when I get home.
Well, very interesting to meet you. Very unexpected.
And very interesting to meet you too, and thank you for agreeing to come on. Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely.
Well, we should have wandered off and see more of Lewis.
Shall we go down to the park? In the early days of television, they used to link programs with a little vignette thing, so it was called the Potter's Wheel. Remember the Potter's Wheel? Yeah. And our point is always a visit to the local park for just 1 minute. And you might want to go down to that park, because once again, it's a great history there. And it was the English and the people that lived in that manor, Cromwellians. They were Protestants, anti-royalists. And there was a battle of Haywards Heath at the train station because the royalists came to try and take that family and that mansion. And they were met at Haywards Heath by a Cromwellian force from here, and there was a battle, and the royalists were put to flight. So the mansion is still there, and the park is still there, and it's lovely.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent. Maybe on the next visit. I don't think I'm going to have to. Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the time.
Have a lovely Christmas and New Year.
Thank you, and you too.
Yes. Well,
And I
good
wish you
luck
every
with the
success.
adventure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Well,
For goodness sake, they didn't
national papers. Yeah.
energy, but a conversation with Stuart Dolby, bringing us now very, very interesting and international figures to be interviewed by Stuart. So do check in on a Wednesday to see who he's got in the interview chair.
Well, on that matter, tomorrow morning we've got Mike Hogan's going to come in.
Oh,
Mike Hogan, as you know, is a very successful photographer,
right.
And he's got a very successful property business that comes to he's going to do a 10 o'clock start. And then on the weekend, we're also doing the energy.
Good, excellent. So join us tomorrow, and then on the Thursday you've got the alternative view with Max and Liza, which then takes us through to Friday when we bring in Melissa to tell us what's going on in the United States, except that Melissa at the moment is in Guildford. So we're getting her reactions to what an American thinks about Britain actually being here. So, lots happening on Mirador Television. Good stuff. Tune in, tune out, tune in, tune out. We go from 8:30 in the morning to 11 o'clock each day, each weekday, from the White Hart Hotel, with a whole variety of people, a whole variety of topics, a whole lot of interesting stuff. Until tomorrow, till a bit.
All right, see you tomorrow.
I must tell you about